Today we're at the Government Center. We're going to talk to the Attorney General's office and the Indiana State Police about property scams.
I'm here with Terry Tolliver from the Attorney General's office. Today we are going to talk about 5 different types of property scams in Indiana. Terry, would you be able to give us a brief synopsis of what each one of these activities entails?
Well, the Super Bowl rental scam is really more of a major event rental scam. Anytime something happens, whether it's the Indianapolis 500 or the NCAA's in town, you'll see situations pop up where somebody may want to market your property, for instance. We've got a lot of high rollers coming into town for this event, and we think we can get you a couple $1,000s a week for your house. If you would, just go ahead and give us $500. We'll take some pictures, we'll list it. They may even promise that we have somebody that's already interested in order to get you to commit, but once you pay the money, you find out shortly thereafter that you don't have somebody renting your place and you're just out the money.
And what about with the duplicate ads such as on Craigslist?
Well, anymore it's really easy for me to get pictures of your house or to just copy and paste an ad that I see on Craigslist, and I'll just change the cell phone number. So if you call on this 2-bedroom apartment, you may want to come on out and meet with me. A deposit will be exchanged. I may even give you the keys, and then when you go and try and go to the apartment, you learn that you can't get in.
What about the overpayment rental scams?
What you'll typically see in an overpayment rental scam is somebody that claims to be from out of town, and that is why they have a paycheck from a former employer, for example. The paycheck is much higher than what you are charging for your rent, and the explanation is, well, why don't I just go ahead and sign this check over to you and then you pay me the difference. After the money is transferred over to the tenant's never to be seen again.
And what about the rent-to-own scams?
Indiana law requires that homes be habitable in order to rent out the property. So what will happen is, in lieu of a rental agreement, they call it a purchase agreement. So you think you own the property. Since you own the property, you're more willing to invest in it, make those needed improvements. Once you miss a payment, it becomes a standard landlord-tenant agreement. I have you removed from the property. You don't get paid for all the work that you've done to the property, and then I'll re-let the place, and I'll continue this process on until I have a newly remodeled home, and then I'll sell the property and start again.
And the last type of property scam in Indiana is squatters. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Well, a squatter is somebody that shows up and just doesn't leave. So what will happen is somebody will come in, sign a lease, miss the payment after 30 days. I will continue to make excuses. By the time you get around to actually pursuing it, it may be another 30 days. It may take some time for you to get an actual court order to kick that person out of the property, and you've got somebody that's been living there that whole time rent-free.
That's true. Eviction is not a short process, and I imagine most of our property managers are aware of that. Well, thank you very much for that quick synopsis on the types of property scams in Indiana.
Well, thank you.
I'm here with Sergeant Coffey of the Indiana State Police Department. Sergeant Coffey, we just learned about the 5 different types of property scams in Indiana. Can you tell us how can we protect ourselves in this online age?
Sure, that's a great question. Many of your members probably market their business or do a lot of business electronically. While I would offer to you that's an excellent vehicle to market your business, market yourself as a person, that is also an opportunity for the criminal element, and they will exploit that if given an opportunity. Understand that customer service comes at a cost, and that cost can be opening yourself up to criminal activity. The best thing to do is to exercise sound judgment and sound business practices. Think about when you conduct business face-to-face, some of the things that you say, some of the questions that you ask. Do not discount those just because you're engaging in the business transaction electronically. Many of these criminals will exploit that. They can be very convincing. They can be very persuasive. They're good at what they do. And as a result, some of the best business people can be duped into making very poor business choices that can be very devastating to them both professionally and financially.
And as you told me earlier, the internet is a great benefit, but it can be a vehicle of criminal activity.
Yes, ma'am, absolutely. Perhaps you can inquire with some of your fellow colleagues, maybe your association, ask if this is something that you've heard of or seen. Don't be afraid to ask questions. Exercise those business practices that have made you as successful as you are today.
That's great advice for our members. Thank you, Sergeant Coffey. The last question we have is, where do you report the abuse?
Sure. Many of these things, as we've alluded to, are business transactions, and with that can present some challenges to law enforcement. Many times business transactions don't necessarily fall under a criminal predicate or criminal investigation, but I would encourage your members to reach out to their local law enforcement agency or the nearest Indiana State Police post to report such actions. And then also, in conjunction with that, just as we've spoken with the Attorney General's office, they may be able to have some options to help facilitate a resolution that would be more timely and more appropriate to address the concerns or the situation at hand.
So in summary, Sergeant Coffey, our members can report these types of fraud to their local law enforcement, the Attorney General's office, or to the Indiana State Police. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay, thank you.
You're
We
welcome.
really appreciate you being here with us
Thank
today.
you for having me.
Now for some realtor advice. What do you do if your listing appears somewhere it shouldn't? We have quite a few scammers out there that are scraping and duplicating listings from legitimate real estate sites and posting them on other sites as a rental. A broker's real name may be used to create a fake email address. To protect yourself, you need to do a Google search of your property address for all your listings periodically. If you find that one of your listings has been scraped or duplicated, you need to do a takedown notice to that website. In case the third-party website does not have a sample form, IAR has provided to our members a sample form that you can send to this website. It is a very powerful tool and the only way you're going to get that listing taken down. The sample takedown form can be found on our website under the Legal Library tab. Again, this is a powerful tool to be able to combat this kind of fraud. Check the Advocate for a more in-depth article that I have prepared on this topic. Hopefully this information has helped. Watch for next month's video.